Hey everybody, happy 4th of July. If you celebrate, if you are an American, 250 years of God preserving our country, pretty awesome. So just feeling really grateful for that. If you are not an American, I hope you had a great 4th of July as well, and it was really fun for you. So right now I'm just gonna do my like 6 month in how much have I read or what books have I read or maybe what my favorite books were. I don't know. I don't really know what I'm doing, but we're just gonna kind of feel the vibes out, okay? So far, my reading challenge on Goodreads was to read 50 books, and I've already exceeded that. I think by June I had only read 51. Now I've read 53. So pretty awesome. I don't think I've ever finished a challenge this early in the year, but I have been reading a lot of middle grade books, and they're usually a little bit smaller, and also audiobooks help me to read more books. And I've been challenging myself to finish my physical TBR to read the books that I have on my shelf. So really been working through that, which has been really fun. And I love to do it. I love to read obviously I got the books that I got because I want to read them. But I've also read some books and DNF some books and cleaned out some books, and that's also really fun. So I'm just kind of going to go through the books that I have using my Goodreads to check it. What did I do? Oh, there it is. I'm actually going to use my phone, I think, because if I don't want my computer to mess up. So if I'm looking down, I'm just glancing at my phone to remind myself of what I've read. But so far, I've read 53 books. Like I said, I have a lot of 5 stars. I'm very generous with my 5 stars. I think there's 21 of them are 5 stars. Like I said, I'm very generous. I uh, I really I go into a book with a lot of love in my heart. Like I'm gonna love this. And so, you know, I can't help myself. All right, let's take a look. Let's see if I can get this to work the way that I want it to. Because like on your phone, it's always different. I don't really like the app as much as I like the as much as I like my computer. But anyway, let's see. Just show me the books. All right, there we go. We're good. All right. So I'll go through and I should be able to see, because I have it up on my computer too, I should be able to see which ones are like in what section, like in terms of what rating I gave them, because I don't think I'm going to be able to see that here, which is really annoying. All right. So the first one we have here is Frostblood by Ellie Blake. And Frostblood is a YA fiction that is focused on, it's like magic, but it's kind of magic that you're born with, and some people are born with icy magic, some people are born with like fire magic, and the people with fire magic are currently in charge. Like at one time they lived in like union and they were all like good vibes or whatever, at least it's alluded to that that was the way it was, and now things are not that way. It's kind of like, the Fire Nation came in and attacked, if you will. Okay, so that's what we have right now. I'm pretty sure that's it. It's been a while. This was like my first read of the year. Okay, so excuse me if I forget details. I really liked it. It was pretty. It was clean. It was really interesting. I really liked. Actually, I think she might have been the fire. I think the other. Now that I'm thinking about it. Oh gosh, if only I could remember. I mean, I did. It's not like I don't read books with the intent to like forget about them, because like I read a book because I want to read it, but sometimes the details just get fuzzy after a while. Like this was January, okay? We're in July right now. I'm trying to think which way it was. She might have been, because like I remember there being like a fire in the book, and I'm pretty sure she got blamed for it because like whatever it is that she was up to, they didn't like. You know what I'm saying? Like they didn't like her because she's a fire blood. I'm pretty sure. Okay. Okay. There we go. She's fire. The ice people are the people that have taken over. So not the Fire Nation. Opposite, okay? The Water Nation attacked, okay? The people that use the ice um, in the Northern Clan. All right, anyway. Regardless, I gave it a 4 star. It was good. It was clean. There was kissing, but like, it was not crazy. I did like also because she was kind of on a revenge kick in the beginning because something had happened to her family, And then at one point, she actually has a moment of clarity where she's like, hold up, revenge isn't actually going to satisfy me at all. And like, I'm hating these ice blood people, these ice magic people, and they're people like me though. And so like she has that moment of clarity, but it's lost pretty quickly, which was also disappointing. I'm like, ah, girl, you were so close, you know what I mean? But yeah, so that's that. Also, I am correct about her being a fire user because I remember her love interest has some facial scarring from a fire situation, and so, that takes some overcoming, if you will. See, all I needed was to talk about it, and we got there, all right? But I gave it a 4 star, 4 star. Then I have Elemental by Anthony John. I had read Elemental years and years and years and years ago, probably when I was a teenager, and I really liked it then. I started reading it again, and I really couldn't stand the teenagers in this book. I really like the story. I think it's kind of fun, but I actually DNF'd it because I couldn't stand the way the teenagers were treating the adults. And that was that. Frieren Beyond Journey's End, Volume 1. I reread, this is a manga book by Kanehito Yamada, and I reread them because I'd gotten the next one for my birthday, which is volume 3, and I wanted to remind myself because it'd been a year since I'd read them, so I reread them. Frieren is a story about an elf girl who, with a group of other people, goes on a journey to defeat the Demon King, and they do it. It takes them 10 years, but they do it. And then they come back and they kind of all go about their ways, and eventually one member of their group passes away, and she realizes the frailty and mortality of humankind, and she becomes very hurt by that. And so she kind of goes on this journey to, well, her like long-term goal is to go somewhere where you can like meet ghosts or something. So I think she wants to go talk to her old mentor, but she's also gathering um like really useless magic along the way, and teaching a pupil on how to use magic and stuff like that. So anyway, I really like the story, really like the characters. It's good. It's good. It's good. The next book is Jesus in Me, Experiencing the Holy Spirit as a Constant Companion by Anne Graham Lotz. I read that one with a Bible study group with women at my church, and it was really great. It really just talks about how the Holy Spirit is, when He is in our hearts, when you become a Christian, He's in your heart, and He is helping you to become more like Christ, which is obviously the ultimate goal, but He's also you're never alone. He's there to help you through any situation that you may be going through and to remind you of the truth of the Word of God. And it was just really eye opening. Talked a lot about the gifts of the Spirit and, stuff like that. And I was very touched by this book, and I intend to reread it again. And I'm really looking forward to it. Then we have Frieren Beyond Journey's End, Volume 2. I'm not going to go into what this one's about, just follow up. There was the second book that I had, and then I have Frieren Volume 3. So I read those back to back, which was fun. All of them got 5 stars, by the way, and so did the Anne Graham Lotz book, so did Jesus in Me. Those are all 5 stars. Again, I'm generous with the 5 stars. Just know that. The next book is The Story of Reality, How the World Began, How It Ends, and Everything Important That Happens in Between by Gregory Kokel. This is a book that really gives a broad overview of the Bible and what it teaches us about life and who we are, who God is, who our enemy is, and what the end of the world is going to be like, and all that stuff. It's an extremely helpful book. If you need information, this is the one for you. I read it, I enjoyed it. I've since given it to a friend, and she's given it to a friend, so it's really getting passed around, which is great. And yeah, so I would definitely highly advise you to read it if you are interested. This is another 5 star. Gone by Michael Grant. I picked this one up at the library. Oh my goodness, I got hiccups. Sorry. I picked this one up at the library because it was a huge book, and it was in the YA section. And usually I kind of like to check it out, and it's like an older YA dystopian kind of thing, or at least that's what I thought. When I picked it up, I read a few chapters in, and then I was like, you know what? I don't know. This is kind of making me a little anxious. So essentially, it's about like in the blink of an eye, everybody age like 15 and up are gone. I think it's 15 and up. They're like completely gone, like just disappeared off the face of the earth, and now all these children are having to like navigate life. And um I didn't get very far into it because I was just so worried about the babies. I was like, what about infants? What are you talking about? These teenagers can't take care of infants or children. Anyway, I actually might pick it up again someday just to see what happens, but it was a DNF for me. Matched by Ali Kandi. Y'all know how I feel about Matched, or the trilogy itself. Matched, the first book is actually pretty good. I think I gave it a 4 star. I did give it a 4 star. It really sets up this really interesting world. And okay, I have since read The Giver by Lois Lowry. I read that a few days ago. And so it's not going to end, it's not going to be in here because it wasn't in June. But that, I'm like, she kind of copied The Giver here because there are a lot of similar vibes. I was like, okay, well, I mean, I know one dystopian kind of follows another, but like it was pretty close, some of the things. So I was like, okay, Ali Kandi, I see you. I see that you have read The Giver. But anyway, um the first book is good, but since the first book is the only worthwhile read, don't read any of them. The Great Divorce by C.S. Lewis, obviously a 5 star, a stellar book. It's a classic. I don't know, but I don't know how many people have read it. But essentially, what it's about is these people are in purgatory and they have a chance to come up to heaven and, like, kind of like the very entrance of heaven and see what it's like. And this guy, he's like exploring, he's like looking around, he's very confused, he feels like he doesn't fit in. And then all around him, he's listening to conversations of people who are basically talking themselves out of going to heaven because they think something was unfair, or you're a murderer. How could you have been forgiven? Or, this woman who's like, I want my son and I want to bring him back with me back down there, and so, like, crazy stuff. I'm terrible at describing it, but it was an incredibly awesome read. I love this book. I don't own it. I actually borrowed it from a friend, but I do want to own it because it was really, really good. Missing by Catherine McPhail. This was a book that I got for free and I gave it back after I got it, put it in a little free library. It's a book about a boy that goes missing and the girl that is left behind, and it goes through the feelings that she felt of being the child that is neglected by her parents because her parents are so obsessed with finding the brother and things like that. It was actually really interesting, but there were some really weird, like, occulty things in it, like the mom being like obsessed with like she was speaking to a medium to find out where her son was and like stuff like that. Like there was some of that, which, I mean, when a person has, like, I'm not saying it's not realistic. People do kind of weird things when they're going through trauma, but it was just a little bit weird for me. I gave it a 3 star. Rogue Heart by Axio, which is the second in a duology. I read Rebel Soul and I really enjoyed it. I read it last year, but I couldn't get into this one. It had a different lead character, which is not a bad thing, but I couldn't get into it, so it was a DNF for me. St. Francis by St. Francis of Assisi by G.K. Chesterton. Wow, this was such an interesting read. I really enjoyed it. Just basically, G.K. Chesterton gave an overview of St. Francis's life, and yeah, it was really good. It was really dynamic. I gave it a 3 star just because some of the information felt like a lot, and some of it felt like it wasn't enough. So, that it was just a 3 star for me. But G.K. Chesterton is a very good writer. And then we have, well, I released my own book and I gave my own book a rating. That's fine. The Age of the Astani. If you are curious about my writing, please check out one of my other vlogs. I don't really want to go super into it in this, but I have written a few books, and right now they're just ebooks. So I do plan on eventually publishing them in paperback or hardback, but I'm actually revising my stories a bit just to kind of clean them up and make them a little better. But I did release another book this year, which I'm quite proud of. I think it's really, I enjoyed writing it. Okay. People Pleaser, Breaking Free from the Burden of Imaginary Expectations by Ginger Duggar Wallow. I love her. I loved her first book, Becoming Free Indeed. And this book was great, and I much needed it. This was a 5 star book for me. Uh, I am a people pleaser. I suffer from that. So it's something that I'm working on. And she had some really good advice for people who suffer from that. If I Stay by Gail Foreman is another DNF for me. I read a little bit of it, but then it kind of, I don't know. I talked about it in a reading vlog and I didn't like it. I just didn't like it. And that's it. Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card is another DNF for me. I actually do want to pick this one up again, but I really hated Ender's siblings. Like, they creeped me out, dude. Especially, I think Peter is the brother, and he was constantly like hurting animals. And me, that when I hear, because I was listening to it audiobook, maybe if I read it and I can skip the pages, it'll be different. But he, animal abuse makes me sick, like genuinely. And so I was getting sick while reading it anytime he talked about hurting the animal. So I was like, you know what? We don't have to get sick reading books. So that was a skip for me. All Systems Red by Martha Wells, which is a Diaries of a Murder Bot, I think is what it's called. I found this in a little free library and I did put it back in a little free library. Um, it was interesting. I think what did I give it? I'm trying to see. I gave it 3 stars. It was fine. Like, it was a sci-fi story, a romp through finding, it was a bit of a mystery and all that. It was actually quite good, I would say. There's like some weird things in terms of like language and like other things like that, but it's also a sci-fi world, so there's weird things happening all the time. So I can excuse it a little bit, but I probably wouldn't continue with it, although I did like the story. I thought it was interesting. And I thought it was really funny that the murder bot in question, I can't remember her name right now, she spent a lot of time watching like rom-coms or like romantic movies because she can't like have romance or like have those feelings, but she wants to. Like, that was kind of sad slash funny to me. I don't know. Anyway, it was okay. I think if you wanted to read it, it would be fine. Just be aware that there's like language and like, you know, some stuff in there that's not, you know, necessarily clean. I don't know what's happening outside, but there's a lot of noise and there's nothing I can do about it. Crossed by Ali Condi. I think I gave this 3 stars. So I'd given Matched 4. I gave this one 3. It was, this one was the beginning of the boring, okay? It was just so annoying and I didn't like it so much, but I was hopeful that something would still happen, and I was wrong to be hopeful. Heart's Gambit by J.D. Mile. I picked this one up from the library. I read the like the inside thing and it sounded interesting. But then when I read the first like the prologue, I was like, oh no 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 no. So like, it's based on a plantation in the South, and this woman who's like the wife of the plantation owner, she is a witch, I guess, like voodoo kind of thing, and um they're 2 runaway slaves. They try to get away and then they can't because she catches them, and then she puts a curse on them so that their families have to forever fight. And then the boy who was running away with the girl, he turns on her and then she kills. Anyway, like, I don't, it was a lot at the beginning and it was really dark and spooky, and I don't like witchcrafty stuff. And like, mind you, it was evil. Like, it wasn't seen as a good thing. It was definitely seen as a bad thing, but I'm just like, I don't want to read this. This is going to give me nightmares. So that was that. That was a DNF. So Happy Lies, How a Movement You Probably Never Heard of Shaped Our Self-Obsessed World by Melissa Doherty. Absolutely incredible 5-star read on just progressivism in the church, but also like New Thought is specifically what she was referring to, the New Thought movement, which is very pervasive in the church and something to be aware of. Um, I loved it. I loved every minute of it, and I learned a lot. And I think anybody could enjoy reading this, especially as a Christian, just to be aware of what's out there and the lies that we may be being told, and we might not know it. Morrigan by Mary E. Pearson, which is a prequel to her Remnant Chronicles series, I think is what it's called. I actually have the first book from it now. I picked this one up from the library. I really enjoyed it. I think I gave it 3 stars. There was only one chapter that I skipped because it was getting a little spicy for me. I don't know how far it went. It just was like getting a little. I'm a quick skip, but overall it was clean and cute, and the romance was interesting. It's kind of like a Romeo and Juliet situation romance. But I liked it. I thought it was interesting. The world seemed really interesting, so I'm very curious to read on to the first book. Yeah, that's it. Reached by Ali Condi. This one was a 2-star for me. I think I don't know why I gave it 2 stars. There must have been something that I liked about it. because usually if there's nothing, it just gets a 1 star. So there must have been something that I liked about it. Maybe it was that it was over. Maybe that's what I liked about it. This book was so boring, and I don't have anything else to say about it. Favorite Father Brown Stories by G.K. Chesterton, which is a book that I received as a gift. I loved it. It's a 5 star, I think. Oh, no, I gave it 4 stars. I think it's because it was pretty dynamically different from the show, which I love the Father Brown show. If you've ever watched it. But this was really good. I hope to read more by G.K. Chesterton because I really enjoy his writing style. Um, and yeah, although I will say, I think the thing that maybe got to me the most is that most of the Father Brown stories were show or were tell, not show stories. So it was Father Brown telling a story versus it actually happening. But there were at least 2 or 3, I think, in there that were actually showing you what was happening at the time. So all good, very beautiful. The Case for Easter, a journalist investigates the evidence for the resurrection by Lee Strobel. You know I love me some Lee Strobel. There's a few of them in here. Very much enjoyed this book. It just talks about how we know for a fact that Jesus came to earth, died on the cross for our sins, and rose again. And that's it. And that is the basis of the Christian faith. We are hoping in that. For if that has not happened, then we hope in vain, as Paul said. Bridge to Terabithia by Catherine Paterson, I'm not sure. I have always loved the movie, and I wanted to read the book, and I got it from a library sale. Woohoo, we love 50-cent books. And I didn't like the book as much as the movie, and I think that's just because of some of the language and some of the things that happen in the book, which I was like, okay, did we need to say that or do that? Now, it's not bad, and it doesn't really the film doesn't divert too much from the content itself, but I think it makes the children a bit more likable. There were some things like they just weren't very likable, and I mean that's reasonable. We're, people, humans, we kind of suck, thank goodness for Jesus. But I didn't like it as much, but I still enjoyed it and I still have it and I will certainly read it again. Conform by Ariel Sullivan. Now, this is another DNF. Oh, Bridge to Terabithia. What was that? I think I gave it 4 stars, or did I give it 3? 3 stars. Okay. 3 stars for Bridge to Terabithia. Conform by Ariel Sullivan is another DNF. I really liked the cover. That's what drew me to it. But as I read the book, and I read pretty far, I read to the point where she was actually going to go up to the clouds because it's like a dystopian world, of course, where there's like levels of where people live. And if you're on the lowest level, you suck. And if you're on the highest level, you're the elite kind of thing. Okay. And so, but the whole premise of the story is that women want to be fertile and they want to be chosen by one of the sky people, and so that they can have a comfortable life and have babies for the sky people. And any deformities of any kind or disabilities of any kind, including mental, are seen as you're an aberration and you're never going to get in. So you have to be like, have a clean bill of health, if you will, in terms of how you look and how your mind is, I guess. Um, and so obviously I wouldn't pass. Just, but anyway, but I was creeped out and I had a feeling I knew where this story was going. I didn't finish it, so I don't know if it got spicy. But when her whole obsession and all of her thoughts and all of any woman's thoughts is about being fertile and being chosen to have babies, like, I'm creeped, dude. I'm creeped because, like, I see where this is going. You know what I mean? And, like, of course, like, like for me, I want to have children someday. I want to be married someday. That's wonderful. That's a wonderful dream. But this was creepy, and I just don't know exactly how to describe it other than creepy. Okay, it was creepy. So we're just gonna leave that there. That was a DNF for me. Jesus Prom: Life Gets Fun When You Love People Like God Does by John Weesey. This was a great book. It was so much fun. I definitely think, some of the stories were a little bit like that he told were a little bit silly, but because he had a lot of anecdotes about what he was talking about. But overall, the gospel truth rang true through every single chapter. I loved it. I was challenged by it. I definitely suggest, even especially young Christians, get this in your hands so you can really see how we are called to live for the Lord. And it was really beautiful. This was a 5-star book for me. Forged in Fire and Stars by Andrea Robertson. This was a 4 star for me. I really did enjoy it. This is a very dynamic journey type of story, which I love. It's about this girl who she's a descendant of the original, like, I can't remember what it's called. Lore Smith, I think. Lore Smith. And essentially she's supposed to be able to smith weapons for the lore knights and be able to, like, have a dynamic group of people that serve the gods, like Greek gods kind of thing, and keep evil away, etc., etc. So for a long time that hasn't happened. A nation has come in and kind of taken over, and they're very cruel, and they have a very cruel, destructive god and that they serve. And so danger abounds, but the crew is like going along on their journey. I really enjoyed this. There were, again, some things that I didn't love about it, especially at the end of the book. I don't know why. Like, at the end of the book, they bring in this other character that she it has like a weird magic that made me kind of feel creeped out. Like, it was a little bit more witchcrafty and things than the magic had been perceived through the whole story. So it was kind of like, ah, that's a bummer. Um, but there was some really good twists at the end as well that I was like, I saw it coming, but fairly late I saw it coming. So I was like, okay, well done, Andrea Robertson. Love that for me and you. But anyway, so that was that. I liked it, didn't love it. Again, 4 stars still good. That's still like, I mean, I think you should read it. There was only kissing in this book. If you don't mind the magic stuff, then there's that. And the only other thing is that I think there's going to be a relationship between two girls that are in the party, and that was disappointing as well. But it is what it is. Sometimes you can't avoid it. I kind of want to read on just to see what happens, but I'm also like, I don't care if I do. So that's it. Jesus, the God Who Knows Your Name by Max Lucado. I think I gave this a 4 star. I can't see it. Maybe I didn't. Where'd it go? Yeah. Oh, I gave it 3 stars. That's right. There were some things that I didn't love in this one because, like I said, I think Max Lucado can get a little bit casual when talking about God, like he's literally the God of the universe, deserves all reverence and everything. So I don't know. There was a couple of chapters when he was talking about Jesus's youth, things that we don't really know about, and it seemed like he was a little bit too like casual in for me. But I think overall it was a beautiful story and it stuck to biblical truth, and I just love that. I just love that. The Isle of the Lost, Melissa by Melissa De La Cruz. Obviously, this is based on Disney's Descendants, but the books are, I think they kind of are very different from the movies itself. This one takes place before the movies actually happen, so it's just the children meeting and being on the Isle of the Lost and kind of beginning their friendship. Um, I really enjoyed this. It was a 3 star for me. I didn't entirely love Melissa's writing, but that's fine. Um, I still think it told the story fairly well, and you got to see kind of the viciousness of the youngsters and why they had to be that way, but how they also didn't entirely want to be that way. Like, they wanted to be kind to each other, or at least they wanted to be nice. I don't even know if kindness is in their mind, but like they wanted to be friends, but they felt like they couldn't because that's not what you do there. So it was interesting. I liked it. I gotten it from a library sale, and I actually gave it back to the library to sell again, let somebody else have it. Um, but I still enjoyed it. It just wasn't my favorite, and I'm looking forward to seeing if the second one's better, but we'll see. Either way, it was good. Fractal Noise by Christopher Paolini. That is my 1 star, as I spoke about. This was like the most depressing book I'd ever picked up. And I was looking for something like Annihilation, okay, where it's like you're thinking a lot. It's thought provoking. Crazy stuff is happening. Space is making you go nuts, or the environment's making you go nuts, or the sound is making you go nuts, or whatever, right? And you're starting to have existential thoughts. That's what I was looking for because that I do enjoy. I really liked Annihilation when I read it years ago. And I like the idea that space can make you feel very like it can make you feel hopeless, but that like you're supposed to like overcome. Like there's supposed to be some sort of hopeful thing in the end. And I guess there kind of was in Fractal Noise, but it wasn't great, I will say. And I didn't like that 90% of the time it was just the overly religious, legalistic character arguing with the complete and absolute atheist character about the existence of God or the goodness of God or whatever. Like, I'm like, why did this have to be like the basis of your story? And I feel like the only reason that was there was for the main character to be like, who cares about either thing? Who cares? And I'm just like, that's not a good message. So I hated this, and it got 1 star. The Case for Christ by Lee Strobel. Obviously, I love this because I read The Case for Easter, and The Case for Easter has snippets from The Case for Christ. But I did love reading the whole story and how dynamic it was, and just his search for truth and how that led him to the cross and led him to Jesus, knowing that God is real. And there are actual factual evidences of Christ coming to earth and also God's existence. All of creation speaks of God's existence. So, loved it. Very good. Spy Family Volume 14. I have been reading Spy Family for a while, and my library frequently gets the next iteration or the next volume. And I love that for me because I can't buy them. I do have some, I think I have 5 of them. It's not like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like there's different, my favorite ones. But I don't have the space. And I don't really want to. That would be a lot. So I love that my library gets them. This one was a 5 star. Oh, Case for Christ was also a 5 star. This one was a 5 star for me. It absolutely made me cry at the end. It was so good. Please read Spy Family. It is so silly and also so serious. And I just loved it. Stay With Me by Becky Wade, which is a Christian romance book. So it is clean. Though for me, the makeout sessions, there was one too many of them, and they were a lot for me personally. This was a 3 star for me. I'm not a romance girly. I have discovered I still have some technically romance books, but they're like historical fiction romance or like whatever. So I'm hoping that like I enjoy those better because I don't like these. I ended up giving it away. So um, personal preference, but it was fine, and there were good things about it that I liked, and I did like the faith content. I just didn't like all the kissing. Can we stop doing that? Tim Tebow's This Is the Day, Reclaim Your Dream, Ignite Your Passion, Live Your Purpose. This was a really good book. I feel like this would be a great book for young men specifically. Not that I didn't get anything out of it, I definitely did. It was very encouraging, and his work is very, like, it's beautiful. It's beautiful what he does for young children and the disabled and other people. It's really amazing. So I really liked hearing about that and hearing about his upbringing and his life and the different challenges he has experienced. Um, this is a 5 star for me, so I definitely recommend that you read it, but especially young men, get this in your hands. I think this is a great book for that. Delicious in Dungeon, Volume 3 by Ryoko Kui. This is a great. I enjoy the series. I have only read 2 because they only had 2 at my library, but now they've gotten another one, and now they have more, but they're not all in order. I don't know if it matters really though if I read them in order because it doesn't feel like it matters. But this was my least favorite just because, like, so essentially, Delicious in Dungeon is a story about it's a dungeon crawler story where they are essentially they live by video game rules once they get in the dungeon. Like, if you die in the dungeon, you just get like sent back out of side of the dungeon, you know. Um, and they're this particular group is trying to reach the lead guy, his sister, who is gotten eaten by a dragon. I guess we can still save her. And I guess getting eaten by a dragon doesn't kick you out. I don't know. It's weird. But anyway, I don't know all the rules. But they start going through, but then they're so poor that they can't buy supplies. But they meet a dwarf who's been living in the dungeon and he can make food out of the monsters. So essentially they hunt down monsters and they find ways to cook them. Okay. This particular one and so far that has not been a problem. It's pretty entertaining actually. But this particular one had mermaids who were nude on top, and that made me just a little bit uncomfortable because I don't like that. I know that they're monsters, and I know that's generally how mermaids are like shown, whatever. But I was like, but this is a little weird for me. But it just wasn't my favorite story, and it didn't have my favorite like background stories for the other characters, because even though there's always this silly content going on, there's always at least a chapter of like a background story for one of the characters in the party. And this one just was not my favorite. It just wasn't. So, yeah, but I do intend to read on. I do intend. And I think, did I say I gave it 3 stars? Let me find it. I think I gave it, yep, 3 stars. 3 stars. The Elite by Kira Cass. Girl, this is like peak um early 2000s love triangle shenanigans, okay? Um I gave it 2 stars. I liked the selection. It was fine. This one was way worse though, because it felt like the main character, America. It felt like she had like goldfish brain, where one minute she's like, oh, I love this guy, and now I love this guy, Aspen and Maxton. And just the back and forth drove me bonkers. Like, I'm like, girl, can you have a brain? I'm just asking for a friend. Just asking. I do kind of want to finish it, but if the one, which is the next book, is not worth my time, then I am not reading any of the other books that I think follow her children or something. I don't entirely know. But if that I it cannot I cannot deal with the brainlessness of it. So anyway. Seeing the Supernatural, Investigating Angels, Demons, Mystical Dreams, Near Death Experiences by Lee Strobel. This was so sick, dude. And this was a 5 star for me, of course. I love Lee Strobel, but this was so sick. Like, you have to read this. Like, you really do. Because, like, I think as Christians, sometimes we can be like, oh, I don't want to think about that stuff. Like, I don't want to go there because I don't want to get into, like, mysticism or the occult or anything like that, which is totally valid. But, like, we live in a world with a supernatural component, and our God is supernatural, okay? Hello. And we do experience supernatural things more often than I think we think. And this was just really cool, and I really loved it. And it talked about like things like healings happening, and like absolutely mind blowing healings, not like you stubbed your toe and it felt better. You know what I mean? Like somebody who was going to die, and there was no way that any other way that they could be saved except by God. So good. My Happy Marriage, Volume 1 by Rito Kosaka. Um, this was really great. I found this at my library. I really want to actually get these books because it's not a super long series. But essentially, this girl, it's very like Cinderella-esque, where her mother dies and the father remarries, and the evil stepmother trope, and she has her own child, and that child becomes a favorite. And so she is like completely beaten down and abused and unloved, and the father's like, okay, well, you're kind of useless, so I'm going to marry you off to this guy that is a known abuser. And so there. And turns out he's not. Turns out he's just kind of like a grumpy Gus, and he just doesn't want people to marry into his very wealthy family for no reason. So he is kind of like cold to these girls who want to be in his family because they want his money. And so he's like kicked out like tons of fiancés, but he's never actually hurt them. They just say that. So like that's wild. But so he has this bad reputation that's not even true. But there's also a component of these people having some sort of magic or like giftings, I guess. They're not, I don't know if it's called magic, but it's like gifts. So like there are these evil, shadowy monsters, although they're getting less and less as modernity takes over. Because this is like in the 1920s, I want to say. And so as modernity takes over, these monsters are becoming less and less because people are realizing that monsters aren't real as the modern age sets in. And these monsters are, I guess, made by people's imaginations, which is kind of weird, but whatever. But these people have gifts to be able to fight these monsters, and I guess his gift is really powerful, and Girly's gift is really powerful, and so together they would be really powerful. And there are other people that want to stop that from happening, that marriage. Okay, so drama, 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 drama. But it's quite good, and I quite liked it very much, very much. Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. This was a reread for me. I enjoyed it, though not as much as the first time, I will admit. Oh, wait, My Happy Family, or My Happy Marriage, My Happy Family, maybe. It was a 5 star. But Divine Rivals for me was a 4 star, which is still good, very good. But I just didn't like it as much as I remember the first time, and that's fine. Who cares? My Happy Marriage Volume 2. which has a different author, I realize. What? Okay, I don't know why. Um, Phenomenal. A continuation, another 5 star. I'm not going to go into it. A Tangled Magic by Andrea Eames. This I got from a giveaway. I talked briefly about it. I gave it 3 stars. It was fine. I would not reread it again. In fact, I gave it away to a little free library, and that's that. It's a Rapunzel dark retelling. I don't really like dark retellings, I think, but it still didn't like bother me that much, so it's fine. It's fine. Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. 5 stars, brother. What the heck? I heard so many people talking about how Ruthless Vows was not as good as Divine Rivals when it is so much more dynamic than Divine Rivals. The stakes are so high, and like it was so like my type of story. Like I need that level of adventure and drama and like what bad thing is going to happen next. Like it was so good. I can't believe people don't like this one as much as Divine Rivals. That is an insane take, and you're wrong. With love. I Survived the Black Death, 1348, year 1348, by Lauren Tarshish. So I love middle grade. Okay, I really do. This is a middle grade book. The I Survived series basically focuses on different times in history of bad things happening and how these characters kind of overcome those terrible things. This was really interesting to me because I don't think the medieval era is written about enough. Would love more, okay? Or maybe I'm just not looking enough for it. But I really enjoyed this, okay? It really was quite sad as well because it talked, her essentially this character's whole village is wiped out, but she manages to survive, which is great. But there's also, interestingly enough, a faith thread throughout it because she is trying to stop these bandits from stealing from their church and she's trying to get it back, and there is faith in God. Like when people say that the plague is being brought on because God is punishing them, she is the one to defy that and say, no, God loves us. We don't know why this plague is here, but I don't believe that God, is doing it to punish us. And I love that. So snaps for this book. Live Your Truth and Other Lies, Exposing Popular Deceptions That Make Us Anxious. This was a great book about how our world right now screams to us to live your truth, that there is no objective truth, that it's whatever your vibes are at the time, which is a crazy take because there is objective truth, and Jesus is our objective truth, and the Bible is our objective truth. So it basically breaks down the lies and how relativism is not good for us as a society, and it just really messes with you. The Young Will Remember by Eve J. Chung. Girl, I have The Daughters of Sandong. It's right there. It's right there. I love Eve J. Chung. The Young Will Remember is set in the Korean War time, okay? A time that I didn't know a lot about. I learned so much from this book, just like I did from The Daughters of Sandong. I really enjoyed it. I did get it from my library. I do kind of want to own it, although it was not my favorite compared to The Daughters of Sandong, simply because there was a lot more language. It was a lot more graphic content because it talks about the comfort women. But I also love that because I think we should talk about that graphic content. We should talk about that. So I'm not saying that it was like a bad thing. I think it was a good thing. But because it was a little bit more tougher, I don't know if I would read it again often, but I think that that period of history we need to talk about more, and we need to be exposed to that because that's real and it's still happening today. There's a lot of evil in this world. Okay, maybe it's not sanctioned by the government necessarily like it was for Japan, but like we are not hiding the cruelty of the world. But I also love that Eve J. Chung is very what's the word? She's nuanced with all of the things that happen, and I really appreciate that about her. And her writing is very dynamic and engaging, so highly recommend. The one thing that gave it a 4 star instead of being a 5 star was that it felt like when it came to religion, because there's a lot of talks about Christianity, but also Buddhism, because the main character is Buddhist, but Christianity was very prevalent the North Korea at the time, though obviously it had to be underground because of the tyrannical leader. But she kind of leads with this idea that anyone can believe what they believe and it doesn't really matter. It's just about believing and in something so that it gives you hope. And I don't agree with that at all. So that's personal preference. So I gave it a 4 star. The Magician's Nephew by C.S. Lewis. Listen to this on a road trip with the family. I love it. I love it so much. 5 stars. Such a beautiful book. It's been so long since I've heard it, and I am excited to read on. New Girl in Town by Judy Bear, which is a Cedar River Dreams book. It's like a young adult, yeah, like a teenage book. They're actually right here. It's a book about it is a Christian book, but it's about a girl trying to fit in a new town and kind of trying to navigate the dynamics of what that's like, and also wanting to be a Christian, but her values kind of get squished a little bit because she's wanting to waver to fit in, all that kind of stuff. It was a really good book. There were some things I didn't love about it. It ended up being a 3 star for me, but it was okay. It was okay. Beloved, How Belonging to Jesus Secures Your Identity. This is by the Daily Grace Co. If you don't know them, please check them out. They have a lot of amazing devotionals and books like this. This was a great book to just help you to understand where you are and what you need to focus on in life. Like, Jesus is our focus, okay? He is the one who saved us, and how the different facets of life can maybe give you a different view on what we need to focus on. So, anyway, it was really good. Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. We're almost done. I'm sorry, this is long. Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. You know, I love me some Lewis. You know it. And this book was incredible. I need to reread it again, but I loved what I read. And I know most people have probably read this in the Christian realm. I'm so glad. This is a classic for a reason. But if you are curious about what it means to be a Christian, pick up this book. It is amazing. And then lastly, I have Cinder by Marissa Meyer, which I finished right before the end of June. This was like a sci-fi retelling of Cinderella. I really liked it. I think I gave it 4 stars. Yep. I do plan to read on with it. I think the other books in my library, like they're in Libby, the audiobooks. So I'll probably do it that way. And that's that. So overall, it was an incredible half a reading year so far. And now I'll end with what I'm reading right now so that we can close this up. I'm reading right now Is God a Moral Monster? Making Sense of the Old Testament God by Paul Copan. I'm really loving this so far. It's essentially addressing arguments by new atheists and what they believe, because they believe somehow that they are morally superior to God, which is an insane take because we get our morality from God. So nice try. I'm also reading Les Mis, but it's up on my bed right now. I have not made it very far with Les Mis, but I'm loving it, okay? I'm just slow. I'm also reading Star Wars Sanctuary, the Bad Batch novel. I am halfway through now. I am loving this. Lamar Giles, or Giles, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. He is so good at writing the Bad Batch squad and their feelings and the emotions. I just feel like I'm watching an episode or a season of the Bad Batch. Absolutely love this. And lastly, I have a library book which I need to renew. Exo by Fonda Lee. Earth isn't ours anymore. I just started this. I'm just in a sci-fi mood, obviously. And so this sounded really interesting and dynamic. At first I thought I would give it back because I'm like, I'm feeling too distracted, but I am going to renew this and continue to read it because I do want to see what happens. It's very interesting. I can't really explain it yet, but like interesting things are happening. So I'm going to check that out. It's going to be a sci-fi July. Oh, okay. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know this was just a lot of me yapping, but that's all this channel ever is just me yapping. I love reading. I love my books. I'll probably read more. Feel free to check me out on Goodreads to follow what I'm reading if you want to. If you don't want to, it doesn't really matter. Or to see what I'm writing, because I will occasionally post there about what I'm writing. But I will also post here. Like I said, I'm doing a lot of revisions right now, so hopefully one day I'll let you know about it. But anyway, I hope that you know that Jesus loves you and I love you so much more. Oh wait, that's backwards. No, no, X that. I love you, but Jesus loves you way, way more. More than you could even imagine. He loves you with a passionate love and he wants to draw you close. And that's why I love to read stories that are Christian based stories because they show us the love of God and also the holiness of God, which is extremely important to take hold of, right? He is not just a loving God that lets us do whatever we want. He is a loving God who is holy and gives us the proper boundaries to live in for good life because he created us. He knows the boundaries that we need to live in. And how wonderful is that? And boundaries are good for us. Everybody loves boundaries. Even if you think you don't, trust me, you do. And so just trust in the Lord, read his word, find out how it is he wants you to live so that you can live well and live for him, which is what we are all called to do. The end of Ecclesiastes actually says that uh, everyone's duty is to obey God. Oh, no, fear God and obey his commands. This is a duty that everyone is to do. Everyone. No one is exempt from that. So, and by fearing God, we don't mean scared fearing. We mean reverent fearing. It's like knowing that he's God, being in awe of him. It is not like I'm scared of you. No, it's a draw near and be in awe of God and obey his commands, for that is a duty that everyone is to do. So I pray that you learn this yourself and that you know Jesus as your Lord and Savior, who he is God, and I just pray that you discover that for yourself. So, amen and hallelujah. I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.